What happens to people who are not Christian in this country, who are atheist, who are Jewish, who are Islamic? If America is religious freedom and there is a sort of a mandate for Christianity in America, what happens to that?
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
Well, what do we say to our Jewish brothers and sisters if we're saying we have a Christian nation?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily even call it pushing Christianity, or like I don't even go there. I'm like,
a lot of conservatives want to get back to Christian ideals. They want to make America a Christian country. And when you ask them what that means, a lot of them will give you an answer similar to this guy's.
I am what I am. So knowing that gives me my spirituality. So that's a worldwide thing. That's not Islamic. That's not Hebrew or Jewish or German or any other. It's humankind. In my book, that's kind of how things sort of seem to work, you know, if you're paying attention.
When asked, what would we say to people who aren't Christian if we mandated in America that you had to be Christian? That was his answer. His answer was, I am what I am, and that's a worldwide thing. I believe in what I believe in, which sounds an awful lot like religious freedom. So it begs the question, what do they think is missing if they're describing something that we already have? And it's because I've realized they think they don't have religious freedom. They think that they are persecuted for being Christian, and that by making this country a Christian country, they will no longer be persecuted. Now, that's what some of them think. That's what some of them have been taught to believe.
I believe it always has been a Christian nation. I believe that there's a covenant with God, and He will not let this country go, and it will come back to what it was supposed to be, out of the slave state.
Explain that a little bit.
What, the slave?
No, yeah, no. What you mean by what it will become, what it was supposed to be, and from your perspective, what does that mean?
My perspective is that under godly instruction and biblical principles, as I believe God created government even in the Bible, and there's like different ways to do things. The goal is to spread the truth as we know it, share Jesus, which is the ultimate truth.
How do we explain then the slave state part of it?
I believe we became a slave state in 1870 when our birth certificates started to get sold to the companies, and so there's like 3 different kinds of laws out there, and I don't understand it completely. I'm still.
So were we Christian while we had slavery here?
Well, being Christian is a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
No, I meant as a nation, because we were talking about being a Christian nation. That's what you had said before.
Well, yeah, we were, but many of us were deceived, and many of us were not accountable.
When asked a very similar question, that was this man's answer. All they know is America is not a Christian country, and it needs to be made a Christian country again. That's the best way they can describe what it means. And probably because they keep hearing stuff like this from their politicians.
The reason we had so many overreaching regulations in our nation is because the church complied. The church is supposed to direct the government. The government is not supposed to direct the church. That is not how our founding fathers intended it. And I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk that's not in the Constitution. It was in a stinking letter, and it means nothing like what they say it does.
Through rhetoric like this, right-wing politicians have convinced average Christian Americans that their religion is being persecuted by the American government. We need to go back to what the founding fathers wanted. Never mind, that's not what the founding fathers wanted. They've learned the phrasing, America needs to become a Christian nation again. But when you ask them to explain what a Christian nation looks like, they don't know. It's fine to practice Christianity. No one's telling you you can't. No one's telling you it's wrong. We just don't want the country to be ruled by Christian principles because we have religious liberty.
You know, I'm tired of people saying that we've got to keep God out of government. No, we need more people who believe in the Lord, who believe in his text, who believe that we should run towards his word. Let him be the strong tower. And if we do that, he will keep us, he will take us, and we will be all right.
Wake up, babe. New grifter just dropped. This is CJ Pearson, a 21-year-old MAGA star online who is running to be a state representative in Georgia. Now, that election did just happen, but there will be a runoff in March, so he has not been elected or not elected quite yet. But he has a lot of traction from the conservative side of things for being so young and so new. Now, before we get to how he is just, in fact, another grifter, let's hear some of his pretty standard conservative talking points.
This church, it gave me the foundation that really propelled me to believe that, you know, again, through all Christ, we can do all things. And so when I looked at the opportunity to run for this seat, it wasn't something I was expecting to do or planning to do. But when I looked at the people that were running, I said, maybe it's time for a new generation. Maybe it's time for a new perspective. Maybe it's time for someone who realizes that it is time for our state, our country, to realign ourselves with Christ's vision. Because if we do that, God will bless us, God will keep us, and we will reap the benefits of it every single day. You know, I'm tired of people saying that we've got to keep God out of government. No, we need more people who believe in the Lord, who believe in his text, who believe that we should run towards his word. Let him be the strong tower. And if we do that, he will keep us, he will take us, and we will be all right. You know, there have been a lot of people in this race who've said, CJ, maybe you're a little bit too young. But I've got to say again, through my Christ, through my God, I know that he will equip me with what I need to know, with what I need to do. He will give me the courage, the conviction, the passion to fight. And I've got to tell you, when it comes to the next generation, we stand the most to lose. If we don't fight for our country, if we don't fight for our state, it's going to be our children, our grandchildren who have to reap those consequences.
Now, along with being incredibly Christian-based in his stance on issues, he's also anti-LGBTQ community, he is anti-critical race theory, and he wants to fight the diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda that has infiltrated our businesses and schools.
Yeah, the reason I decided to run is because I believe there is time for a new generation of America First leadership in this state. The state of Georgia right now is ground zero for what's happening across this country. The radical left is trying to California our Georgia, and I refuse to sit on the sidelines and allow it to happen. We need to hold Fani Willis accountable. We need to keep our state's traditional values intact. And we also need to ensure that America's next generation has an incredible place to call home here in the state of Georgia. You know, in the beginning of the segment, you mentioned that when I'm elected on February 13th, I'll be the youngest black lawmaker in all of America. Now, making a difference has always been more important to me than making history, but I can't help but revel in the fact that the youngest black Republican will be a MAGA Republican, because I've said it once, I'll say it again. The Democrat Party destroyed the black community. It's time for the black community to destroy the Democrat Party, and we intend to do that.
Except you're not destroying the Democratic Party. You're destroying regular, everyday people. You're not going after Democratic politicians that have failed multiple groups, including the black community. He's right about that. They have not done their job. But he's not attacking them. He's attacking regular, everyday people who just want to live their lives and be happy and thrive. But it's not surprising because, like every single Republican out there, he's a grifter. According to Sam Brody at the Daily Beast, who uncovered this information, after the wake of all of the riots that took place after George Floyd's murder in 2020, CJ Pearson decided to raise money for black-owned businesses that were affected negatively by the rioting, the looting, the violence that took place. Sounds like a good thing, right? He started a GoFundMe, he was pairing with this charity organization, he was going to raise money, and he did raise money to help these black-owned businesses to sort of alleviate some of the costs of the repairs that would be necessary for their stores. Raised about $170,000 for these businesses, but according to the publicly available tax forms, only about $10,000 of that was actually spent and given to businesses. And not only that, he claimed it was a different kind of nonprofit organization than it actually ended up being, claiming it was a charitable style nonprofit when really it was a commerce-oriented style nonprofit. Now, these organizations only have to disclose grants given that are above $5,000. So it is technically possible that he spent a bunch of little money to a bunch of different locations. But we don't have any receipts of him giving more than $5,000 to any of these Black-owned businesses except for the one time he gave $10,000. Tragically, with his talking points and the fact that he takes donated money and sits on it for 4+ years, I'd say he would fit in very well as a Republican representative in our government.